Coming up on our Finding Better podcast is a timeless Thanksgiving message. Kim Sorrelle is here to share with us a very, very dark part of her life's journey that involved rape, cancer, and a whole bunch of other things that nobody should ever have to go through. But how forgiveness, love, and gratitude not only help them survive, but thrive, and how they are living an amazing life today, full of love, full of gratitude, and full of Thanksgiving. Please share this. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences, not opinions, not academics, not theories, but real life experiences of things that we've gone to and finding better in our own lives. Because the idea is that maybe if we share some of those things with you, you might be able to apply them to your life. And, sometimes the best way to success is to copy it. And today is our Thanksgiving special. Although it's Thanksgiving, this is a timeless message that you want to share, even on 4th of July next year. It's amazing. I have Kim Sorrelle with me. Good morning, Kim.
Good
Uh,
morning, John.
Hey, thank you for joining me again. As you can see in the background, Kim is the author of the book Love Is. And her book goes over the book of Corinthians. And you've heard the love is patient, love is kind, love does not boast, all those things. She talks about in her book, all 14 of them, and how she spent one full month learning about love is patient, love is kind, each one of them. And her journey has taken her all over the world as she's learned about it, and she shared that some of those stories with us, and she's going to continue to. But today, we wanted to. Kim has been gracious enough to share a very, very personal experience in her life, um, uh, that I'm so grateful that she has agreed to share with us. Um, Kim is one of those people who I know I'm going to be hanging out with for the rest of my life. During our get together, during our getting to know each other through the podcast and stuff, I was so compelled by her that I got on an airplane and flew to Grand Rapids, Michigan to meet with Kim. Um, and that was the only reason why I went to Grand Rapids, Michigan. There's no other thing there for me, but for Kim Sorrelle. And we spent an entire day together. And she hosted me at her house, and I met her family. And I came home so struck by the love that I felt, not only the hospitality that Kim gave to me and her family gave to me, but just the love in her home, in her house. And she shared a story with me that I asked her to share with you. And today's topic is, and I'm droning on and on and on, but today's topic is about gratitude and a whole bunch of other things: gratitude, forgiveness, grace, grace under fire, and all the things that we talk about that she has actually personified and and anyway, I'm just going to shut up because you need to hear from Kim. So Kim, I'm going to let you. I'm going to follow your lead as you share your story. And yeah, thank you for being here.
It is my pleasure to be here, John. And it was so great to have you in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So fun.
It's
It was so
it's so
fun.
beautiful there.
Yeah,
It,
well, thank you. I
I
think I
wasn't
think it is
expecting
too.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
beautiful, so much green, and
Yeah.
oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, folks, if you have a chance to go to Michigan, go to Michigan. The only place I'd ever been before that in Michigan was Detroit, And there's a whole nother part of the state, a whole 99.9% of the state that doesn't look like Detroit.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so
Uh,
funny, but yeah, everything else is so different from Detroit. But
yeah.
yeah, so we're gonna share the story, I guess. My starting with my daughter. So my daughter was there when John, when you were there, and you could see she's this bubbly personality that everybody loves. She just
Wonderful. Such a nice
wonderful. Yeah.
person. Such
Yeah,
a
she
nice
is.
person.
Yeah. But she's had a tough time. She got married a man she was in love with, and she thought life was great, and she got married at the right age, and all the stuff. And then she was in the hospital having the baby when the man told her that he wasn't going to stay with her and walked out of her life. And so she came home to my house with her baby, who was beautiful and wonderful. And and then she's working and she's trying to make a way being a single mom. And 9 months later, she never asked to go out because she had to work all the time. She had to pay for diapers, had to pay for formula, all this stuff. And she asked if I'd babysit. And I said, sure, you never get to go out. Well, she went out that night. And that night she was raped by a man from Nigeria. And shortly thereafter found out she was expecting.
She
And
was expecting from,
from the rape, yes. And so uh, that's a weird time. And in our country, we handle this so poorly. We just handle it so poorly. Less than 5% of rapes are convicted in our country. Rapists just rape because they're just kind of allowed to. If they do get in trouble, it's minimal. It's, his word against hers and all this stuff. And so talking to the detective, there was no anything for her because if he was from Nigeria. So the way our criminal justice system works is they could bring him in. They said they'd do everything to get a confession. But if he doesn't confess, you go before a jury. And going before a jury, it's his word against hers. And so whoever the jury believes, that's what's going to happen. And
and
if
of
he's a,
course, and
yeah,
of course, I've seen the nightmare scenarios where they try to make the victim out to be the one to blame or deserving of blame.
exactly, exactly. And I'll tell you, ladies, we're our own worst enemies. We should be banding together on this, but instead, the defense attorney loves it when there's women jurists because they're going to be going, "Wow, what was she wearing? Did she really say no?" All that stuff. And it's like, really, you know, yes, once in a great while, like between all the rapes, every once in a while somebody lies about it. But that's rare. I mean, can you imagine lying about that? I can't even imagine thinking about lying about that and then bringing
Right,
somebody to court.
right.
Like, come on. So ladies, we've got to get on each other's side on this. But we never got that far because if he was acquitted, he could stay in this country and have parenting time.
So wait. Okay, wait. I didn't hear that part of it before. So if he's if he's acquitted, he can stay in the country?
Stay in the country and see her, have parenting time with the baby. Yes. Yeah.
Why?
That's the way the law is. That's the way it works. And so
What?
I know. And so we never brought it anywhere. He has no idea. I have no idea where he is, if he's alive or I don't have any idea about this man. But hopefully he's back in Nigeria and hopefully he's not raping anybody. They have different laws over there. I mean, but meanwhile,
Did she know who this man was?
She did because she went to her freshman year of college. She went to a college in Grand Rapids, and he was an international student there. She transferred out, but she was friends with all the international students. And so they were getting a bunch of kids were getting together from her first year of college, and that's why she went out. And he was there. He was one of them. And so, yeah. But
So how
so right, so not a great situation. So she's reeling from this. reeling from divorcing a man she thought she'd be married to forever. Then she's raped, and then she's pregnant. And so life was not easy. And she had to make a decision about the baby. And she told me later that she came real close to going to the store and buying a Plan B pill because she was so afraid of what could have happened that night.
Hmm.
And she decided not to. She decided she just couldn't do it. And then hoped she wasn't pregnant, but then she was pregnant. And so 9 months later, I'm in the operating room with her. She had a C-section, and so she has a C-section, and Cordelia is her daughter's name, was delivered, and she didn't cry. And they brought her over
Baby didn't
to,
cry. Cordia
yeah, she
didn't
didn't
cry.
cry. Yeah, normally a baby cries, right? Whatever. She didn't
Yeah, yeah.
cry. So they brought her over to where they lay her on the incubator, the warming pad, whatever it is. And I walk over because she's not crying. I walk over and she looked okay, but the nurse is like picking up her leg, her thigh, and she's like flapping her thigh a little bit. And I'm like, is everything okay? And she said, yeah, everything's fine. She's just not picking up like we like to see. And I said, I think that's her color because they just expected this white woman was going to have this white baby. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, she didn't pink up ever. I mean, she's, half Nigerian. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful and wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it's so funny, John. I think we're born with such innocence and knowing how to love the right way, really understanding love and affection and having a deeper understanding than we do as adults sometimes. I think we lose it because we're told things about love, what love is, what love isn't, that aren't true. We're told what we should expect from people, and if our expectations aren't met, then they're bad, whatever. We're
Right.
kind of taught that it's okay to say bad things about people behind their back, just kind of say bad things. I mean, who does that? Little kids aren't doing that. They're not going around going, "Oh my gosh, did you see what Lisa did?" I mean, things like that don't happen. And so I think we're born like it's in us to know how to love the right way. And so here's Cordy. We find out she had sickle cell trait, which isn't bad. It's something that they test every child for when they're born, an African American child, and
Mhm.
means you can't have a baby with anybody with sickle cell trait, or the child will have sickle cell. But she has some symptoms from her sickle cell. Her cells will sickle. Most of the time, they don't have any symptoms, but she does when she's really cold. That's how we figured it out to begin with,
Uh-huh.
because she'd cry when she was cold. That's the only time she'd cry. And it's because her cells would sickle. It's real painful for her to get too cold. She dehydrates a little too easy. Like she's got to have a lot of
Oh,
salt in her diet. Just a couple little things that she never mentions and doesn't really care about. Like, but just part of who she is and what she has to live with. And so, but so here she is, and she's 18 months younger than her older sister. And as they were little girls, they would get so excited when somebody in the family was going to have a baby, and it wasn't because they couldn't wait to find out if it was a boy or a girl. They couldn't wait to find out what color the baby was going to be because they figured babies were either black or white, or some shade in between. And they
uh-huh.
just wanted to see what color, because here Cordy was the only one her color in the family. And so they just thought, well, certainly there will be another Cordy coming along. And of course, that didn't really happen. I do have a Dominican son, so I've got some kids that are brown, but not dark like Cordy. And
Hmm.
so anyway, so she has had a lot to deal with in her life. I mean, that alone, then other things happened in life. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I want what what about you? What were you going through? I mean, during this, what I mean, it's one of those things where me as a dad, um, I'd go hunting. I mean, it would. it wouldn't be a good thing. I mean,
Right?
I'm just like, oh my God, I mean, um, how do you process that? How did you, what,
Right. No, it's so difficult to process. But when we were told that he would get parenting time,
yeah,
when we were told that, it's like we don't want him to know the baby exists. We don't,
right,
she never knew
right,
his last name, so we didn't know where to go find him anyway. And plus, there's this whole thing too with when it's somebody you know, which is so common. Date rape is the name they put on it, but it's so common and it really happens. They're not, people aren't faking it. It for real happens. And men are stronger than women. It's just the truth and can overpower somebody. In my daughter's case, she's strong as an ox, man. She is
yeah.
one tough cookie. And this guy uh slipped something in her drink. She couldn't move. She couldn't
Oh,
scream. She couldn't talk. She couldn't move. She was aware, but she couldn't move. And so stuff happens. And so guard your drink. Don't ever let anybody, don't walk away from your drink. I mean, just be smart about everything. And I pray it doesn't happen to anybody else, but it happens daily. And then because it's somebody that she knew, then it really gets questioned, right? People are like, oh, really? Are you just saying that? Because, whatever. And then it's confusing for her because she's like, wait a minute, like, did that really just happen? And why couldn't I
sure.
scream? And why couldn't I?
Yeah.
She wasn't getting it. She wasn't all there, so she wasn't really understanding. And I mean, just all the stuff, right? And so yeah, it's like on one hand, you want to go hunt him down and go, you gotta be kidding me. What were you thinking? Like, why do you think this is okay?
Oh, I
I
wouldn't
remember,
be asking questions.
yeah, no,
No,
probably,
no,
probably
I would.
true.
That is not why I'd be hunting him down.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's probably true. Yeah, but I don't, it's hard to know what to do. And the detective, when I'm talking to him, I said, well, yeah, but isn't he gonna, what if he rapes somebody else? And he said, oh, he will. That's what rapists do. They rape, they think it's okay to do that. And, I don't know if culturally it's a thing for him or whatever. I don't think it is, but that's what the detective said. And he said, but your concern needs to be with this baby. And he said, I said, what if this
So,
was your daughter? And what is her responsibility if he rapes again? And she said, it's not. He said, it's not her responsibility.
oh
It's
my
his
gosh. I mean,
responsibility.
what
Yeah.
conflict? I mean,
Oh, for
on the
sure.
one hand, you're going, but if we don't do anything, he's going to do it again.
Right.
But you're telling us that, and, I get it, right? You got to take care of your family and you got to do, I mean, holy cow.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
imagine.
So yeah. So we just kind of had to come to grips with that. But then too, shortly after that, I was diagnosed with cancer. And then
You were
um
diagnosed with cancer.
yes, yeah. Cordy was 6 months old when I was diagnosed with cancer, with breast cancer. And then 4 months later, my husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And
Oh my gosh.
he died just a few days before her first birthday. So my daughter had pile after pile after pile of circumstances that were one of the things alone is difficult to deal with, but this whole pile of things, it was not an easy time for her. And she ended up marrying a man who was not a good man and thought she sure thought he was. He sure spoke a big game, but he did not deliver on his big game. Everything he said was a lie. But I don't, and you wonder how people get into situations like that. But some people are just really great at lying.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And he was
Oh
one
my
of them.
God.
And yeah. So then they
And
lived in this horrible dysfunction, unfortunately, for years. And she didn't know this either. My daughter didn't know this either. But after she married this man, she found out he had white pride tattooed down his arms.
he had what?
White pride.
What is that?
White pride.
Oh,
It's
white
like,
pride. Oh,
Yeah.
white pride. I thought you said weight pride.
No, white.
White pride.
Pride.
Oh boy.
Yeah. 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 So he was not a good man and did unspeakable things to her sister, to Cordy's sister. Never touched Cordy because he said he wasn't into black chicks, which is disturbing because she's not a chick, she's a little girl. And anyway, all of it was disturbing. They did get a divorce, and then he's the only father she knows, and they were married for 8 years. She was
Oh
this
my
little girl
goodness.
when they got married, and so she's battling with all those things too in her mind, and just kind of thing after thing. And then he ended up because they went to the police. He ended up knowing they went to the police, and then he committed suicide. So then she had that, and that just a few years ago. And so here's this little girl growing up in this not great situation. I mean, she had me, she had extended family, she had her mom who adored her sister who loves her. She had lots of that going on, but lots of not great stuff going on. I sometimes I think, what would society expect from a girl like her?
Oh
Like,
my
you
gosh.
know,
Oh my
where would
gosh.
the, yeah, where would the expectations lie? Like, if you know that story about somebody, are you going to picture them out on the street somewhere? Are you going to picture them hooking? You're going to picture them addicted to something? What is the life of a girl with Cordelia's story? And Cordy, though, is not that story. She's not
No.
what society would expect. And
Right.
yeah, so
Right.
today, Cordelia is 17, senior in high school, 4.2 GPA, 1480 on her SAT, applying to places like Vanderbilt and Johns Hopkins and Case Western, wants to do biomedical engineering because she wants to help people, and it's a great way to serve people and help people. And she's in student council. She's on the lacrosse team. She's doing it. Like she is,
Incredible.
yeah, she
Incredible.
decided as a young girl, she decided that her life circumstances were not going to define her, and that she was the only one that could define her path. And she made the decision that her path was going to be one of service and loving people and helping this not to happen to somebody else. And I'm so proud of that little girl.
You know, folks, I met Cordy when I was in Grand Rapids, and she's just an incredible person, and nice, well-mannered, quiet. I mean, just like the perfect. I have a daughter, I have a son, and I'm like, wow. It's one of those things. I always tell people that I want to be just like my kids when I grow up. And and Cordy's the same kind of thing. You told me a little bit about her, and one of the stories you told me about. Now you live in a predominantly white area,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And here's Cordy. I mean, she's definitely an anomaly in that area, right? And you had told me that there were times when people at school would, as she's walking down the hall, would kind of whisper the N-word at her and stuff like that. And I just think about that. I think about, well, I mean, it's just life's not fair. I mean, and folks, you've heard me say it. The life's not fair. But in Cordy's case, I mean, it's life's not fair on freaking steroids, right?
Right.
And you told me about how she created a club in high school. And can you share that? Share
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
she's done in high school, please.
Yeah. Well, she does go to a predominantly white school. There is diversity, but there's not Black diversity. So there's Hispanic, there's Asian, but I think it's 1.6%, 1.8% Black in her school.
Okay.
So, by far the minority. And so there were these boys in her class her sophomore year. and they're in her grade. And apparently, we're kind of known for this bad behavior and would hang out in this hallway. And as people walk by, the three people in this school, I mean, she goes to a school of around 1,500 kids or something. So, there's some black kids there. There just aren't very many.
Hmm.
And but yes, we're always. And then they did something horrible that devastated our entire community because the majority of people don't think like these kids were behaving, but of course they're where are they getting it from, at home, or where are they even getting it from? But they it was a basketball game, and the team that our team was playing was predominantly black. There was a kid taking a free throw, and these kids were under the basket, and they were, I'm so embarrassed to say, but they were making monkey noises and gestures, and were immediately collared and taken out of the gym, and they were disciplined. But it happened on a Friday night, and Monday morning I called the principal and I said, "This is not okay." And of course, I realized he knows this isn't okay. And I said, "But every school I know, what they've done is they've had one assembly whenever this has happened. They've had one assembly and they've said to the kids, this is not acceptable behavior. We do not behave this way. And then that's it. That's the end of it." I said, that can't be the end of it. That can't be the end of it. Because in talking to Cordy over the weekend, this isn't a one-time incident with these boys. These boys are known for this behavior, this
No
racist
kidding.
behavior, and something has to be done. And the school was didn't quite know what to do. And so anyway, so Cordelia started a club for advocacy and belonging, because one of the things that she struggled with, they moved to the school district. They did school of choice, but she moved into the school, I think in third grade. And
Hmm.
so she didn't know anybody, right? So she's coming to this brand new school, not knowing anybody. All the kids are friends with each other already, and she really had to make her way, and really felt like she didn't belong. I mean,
Well,
nobody
and
looked like
and and
her.
she's of a group of less than 2%, right?
Right, right,
I mean, she is different and
yeah,
clearly, and oh my gosh.
yeah. Well, and not only did she not feel like she belonged at school, but she didn't feel like she belonged at home, because people would ask my daughter in front of her regularly, "Oh, what country is she adopted from?" Is she from Africa? Whatever. And it's like, no, she's not adopted. She's my daughter's, whatever. And so it gave her this feeling of not belonging even in her home.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So then she realized, I mean, for her, of course, it's such a lonely feeling to feel like you don't belong.
Totally.
And there's so many people, John, that feel that way in our world, that I think it can be so easy to ignore those people or not realize the loneliness that people are living in. And I think there was a study done. I think the number is 50% or even a little over 50% of people in the United States that live in feel extreme loneliness. And so, here's 40, one of them as a kid, and she would see that she got this group of friends that were this wonderful group of friends, still her best friends, that she developed, after starting school and finally getting in with a group and that kind of thing. And they're wonderful girls. They're awesome girls that she adores and love her and see her only for who she is, and not color is absolutely not an issue for them. And but not she was looking and seeing not everybody has that. There's kids sitting alone at the lunch table. There's
Right.
kids
Right.
that
Right.
just feel alienated, just feel like they don't belong. And so she decided she needed to do something to change things. And so she started this club with, the school's total support. And then right away there were kids that joined her. And today, so 2 years later, because that was halfway through her sophomore year, and now it's halfway through her senior year almost. There are 45 kids in the club, and I've been told by the school, by the principal and others, that the culture at school has changed dramatically.
That is amazing. I mean, of the millions of different responses that Cordy could have given to the world, she gave a response of love
Mhm.
to, I mean, she created a school or a club about advocacy and belonging. And I studied, I did a little bit of research on kids going to college. And the number one reason why kids leave college and leave school is because they don't have a sense of belonging, because of loneliness, right? And they're
Mhm.
not able to make that transition. And I just think of, I mean, in Corey's school, 45 kids became part. I mean, holy cow. I think about the impact that Cordy had on those 45 people. You and I you're a guest on my podcast. Again, thank you. I love you. Um, but I mean, my daughter asked me to do this podcast because she said, Dad, if you can reach one person with one of your messages, you'll have changed that person's life forever. In Cordy's, as a 17-year-old, as a 15-year-old, when she started this thing 2 years ago, I mean, she rocked her world, right? I mean, it sounds,
Mhm.
and the culture of the school changed, and 45 kids have become part of this. And I mean, you think about that seed that Cordy um, planted because of her actions, because of the work that she's done, and because of what she did with that club. I mean, you think about the path that has been changed, or maybe changed, maybe adjusted just in a degree or two in every one of those kids. And I mean, 1 degree of change over time and distance can I mean, that is amazing. I mean, I could go on and on and on about this thing. I mean, I think of myself, and when I find myself feeling sorry for myself, and I ask I ask you who are listening to think about this, because we've all done it. We all find ourselves in a place, life's not. Think of this story when you think of Cordy, and uh, oh my gosh. And let me rewind the tape just a little bit. Um, you had mentioned how Cordy has, uh, growing up, was always reminded, or she had the feeling, or things were communicated to her that caused her to feel like she didn't belong, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think of your daughter, and I think of your daughter having Cordy, and I think of, as beautiful as Cordy is, her your daughter's experience of what she went through in getting pregnant with Cordy. I mean, Cordy was a reminder of that every moment. How did and I just think about how do you reconcile that? And the only thing the only solution I come up with is love.
Mhm. Yeah, I think
How
that's
did
so true. It's interesting because we all make decisions. We all make so many decisions every day, right?
every day?
More than we realize, we're constantly deciding things, but there's some things that are bigger that we make decisions on than others. And I think this comes down to a decision is how are you going to react to it? It's not so much the things that happen to us or around us, but it's how we react to those situations,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so
Yes.
you could, I mean, she could have just lived in bitterness and then had Cordy be this negative reminder to her. But from the beginning, it was like, no, I mean, the baby has absolutely nothing to do with the
Right.
situation.
Right.
And she was just gonna embrace and love her child, which she adores Cordelia. They're very close. And it's never been a thing. It's never been a hair of a thing. It's never been anything but love. And but definitely somewhere along the line there was this decision made in her mind that she was not going to allow that to be a reminder to her. And it hasn't been. She just her and Cordy are tight, and she's a great
Mm.
mom to Cordy, and Cordy's great for her. And they, John, so often we want to wallow a bit in the stuff that happens to us. And sometimes wallowing for a minute is okay. It's okay to wallow. But when we get caught up in, I know for me, I think for most people, when I get caught up in something that's happening, you mentioned it earlier that I think, God, it's just so not fair. Like, why does
Right.
this keep happening to my family? Or, oh my gosh, this happened and why? Why is it happening to me? And I remember one point in time, somebody asked me, several people actually, right after I was diagnosed with cancer, people would say, Kim, why you? Why you? You give and you do this and you volunteer and you do this, why you? Why you? My answer was always, well, why not me? Why would I be immune? Right? Like, I don't think God is in heaven. I may have said this to you before, but this is how I believe. I don't think God's in heaven going, Kim, you stole that pack of gum when you were in seventh grade. I'm going to smite you with cancer when you're 47 years old. I just don't think it happens that way.
Right.
I've had people say to me over the years, well, must be in God's plan, must be in God's plan. No, God doesn't plan a rape. God doesn't plan cancer. I can't buy that. I just can't
Right.
I can't
Right.
accept that. To me, my belief system is God is love, and God is love.
And
Not that he
God
loves,
gives
but
us will.
God is love,
Yeah.
right? Well, love doesn't give away cancer and rapists. So it's not that it must have happened for a reason. It's what reason can you bring out of what has happened? And so nobody can relate to somebody who's been through breast cancer like I can because I've been through it. Nobody can relate to being a young widow like I can because I've been through it. Nobody can relate to going through rape like my daughter can because she's been through it.
Right.
And so you can take these situations that are nobody wants to go through, right? I mean, crappy situations, but you can try to figure out, well, what can you do good with it?
That is amazing. That is amazing. What reason can you make of it? What good can you bring of it? Um, and the other, I mean, there just in the last 45 seconds of you talking, there's a lot to unwind. You said, why me? Well, why not me? I mean, I don't know, and I've never heard that before, to be honest with you. I hear the why me, why me, why me all the time. I've never heard anybody say, Kim, until you just did. Why not me? And that's just amazing. And I think about Cordy is going to. I mean, I've told you this. I've told my audience this. I think we all we share a common purpose, and that is to make the world better than the day we landed on it. Clearly, Cordy has done that over and over and over again. She's going to continue to do that. She's going to change the world. I mean, it's just such an amazing story with Cordy and you and your daughter and your whole family. It is just amazing. So now here we are in the season of Thanksgiving. And, one of the things that just like I said at the very beginning of this conversation, you live with such grace and gratitude. And I know that about you. I felt it in your home. And how, you know, um, and I know that somehow your daughter has forgiven that Nigerian man. Um, and I know this because she's moved on. And you can't move on until you have forgiven in your heart um, the people who have wronged you. how did she get to that point?
It's interesting because, I think something that sometimes gets overlooked is the fact that people don't have to ask for forgiveness for you to forgive them,
That's right.
right? Because forgiveness really is for you. It's
Exactly.
really not for them. Because the opposite of forgiveness is harboring and bitterness, right? And which only hurts you. I mean, I don't know about you, John, but I had a situation one time that I went to a class reunion and there was a girl in my class that was not treated well by pretty much everybody.
Hmm.
And I always felt bad for this girl. I didn't really participate in it, but I also didn't stand up for her the way I should have. And I went to her at the class reunion and I said, "Gosh, I'm so sorry, that I never really stood up for you and whatever." And she said, "Di, I don't remember that you didn't. Like I just remember that you were a friend to me, like that you were nice to me. And here I'm holding on to this. I'm harboring this whole time. Like I've got to ask her forgiveness." And she didn't even know that that's going on in my life and in my heart, right? And I think that happens so often that we're hanging on to something and the other person's totally unaffected. They
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
like their life just goes
They,
on.
they just went on.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. And so really forgiveness is about us personally. It's about you personally, not really about what or who you're forgiving, but it's
Right.
it's it's doing the right thing for yourself.
That's
And so yeah, I think I will confess that for a while I was kind of mad at the whole country. I was mad at Nigeria. I was like, you get these emails, back in the day. Like, I don't think this has happened in a long time, but you used to get these emails, this prince from Nigeria, if you send
right.
this money, and then, whatever, and then this from Nigeria, and oh my gosh,
Yep.
Nigeria. And I like harbored this ill will for a bit toward the entire nation of Nigeria, which I look back and recognize how ridiculous it was. But anytime I heard Nigeria, I mean, that's what came to mind, and that's what
Yep.
I'm thinking
Yep.
is that what happened to my daughter. And then I met these incredible people from Nigeria who were so kind and so loving and caring and had nothing to do with that image I had in my head of Nigeria. Nothing to do with that. Then
That's
I find out the majority of people in Nigeria are like them,
amazing.
not like the guy that raped my daughter, not like the people that say they're a prince and they want your money. That's a small little percentage, just like the Christians that make all Christians look wacko, or the Muslims that make Muslims look crazy, or
Yep.
it's a small percentage, it's a little bit of people. Most people are not like that. Most people are you and me, and we care about people
Yeah.
and love people and want to see good for people. And so, I had to get rid of it too. I had to move on from that feeling and realize what a whacked feeling really that was.
Right.
But I had it for a bit. Because I had to deal with it. And so
So
yeah.
yeah, so you talked about your friend and your feeling that you wanted to be forgiven. Um, the other way is equally important, if not, in my view, more important, and that is us forgiving others. And my mom just and this goes back to your point that you don't have to tell a person you're forgiving them. You don't have to go to them and say, I forgive you. It's forgiveness is in your heart. And my mom, I've told this story before, but my mom uh, lived for decades with my dad, and he was emotionally abusive, really, and not physically abusive, but emotionally abusive. And they've been married for, I don't know, 30 years or 40 years, something like that. And my dad was in the hospital um, getting a softball sized cyst removed from his digestive tract. He had a 2% chance of living. And so my dad had affairs and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there were a lot of things about my dad I loved and respected. There were some things about my dad I will never make part of my life. And so anyway, she lived with a whole bunch of pain with this man. Um, and while we were waiting in the in the waiting room while he was in surgery. Doctor came over and said, okay, he's out. He's out of surgery. He's in ICU. And we just have to wait and see if he comes out of it. And so I turned to my mom and I said, Mom, I want you to go into Dad's room and sit by his side. And she goes, why? I said, I want you to take his hand. I want you to take, he's unconscious. He's unconscious, right? But I want you to take his hand and I want you to look at him and I want you to say, Frank, I forgive you for everything you've done my entire life. And she literally recoiled and she says, what are you talking about? You know what he's done to me. And so, anyway, conversation went on. And finally, I convinced her. I said, Mom, please just do this for me. And so she left, she went into Dad's room, and 10 minutes went by, 20 minutes went by, 30 minutes went by, and finally she came out. And Kim, when she came out, I didn't recognize her.
Mm.
She had dropped 25 years, and her stress lines were gone. It was as she was relaxed. It was as if she just took this massive burden, and it was gone. And she just sat down next to me, and I looked at her for about 5 minutes. I said, "What happened?" And she says, "I feel light." I said, "Well, what did you do?" She says, "I did what you told me to do. I took his hand. I looked at him. He was unconscious, and I forgave him." And in that moment, she took this burden that she'd been carrying for decades. And with those words, she gave it back to him. And she said, I'm not carrying this anymore. And it was gone. And so, and that's why I say, I know that you all have forgiven whoever this person was. I know that whatever, and Dave, right? Um, whose last name escapes me right now. I'm sorry. What's Dave's last name?
Gibbons.
Gibbons. Okay. And he once said that forgiveness is a greater miracle than the parting of the Red Sea.
Mm.
And I saw it. I saw it happen. And yeah, it's just amazing. And okay, speak of gratitude. We're in the season of Thanksgiving. Please.
Yeah, well, gratitude is kind of everything, right? Because if you're grateful, you kind of can't be bitter. If you're grateful, if you really live in gratitude, there's no room for hate. There's no room for resentment if you're truly grateful, because those are things that are opposite of gratitude.
Right.
And
Right.
it can be easy to look at somebody else and wonder why they have more than you have or whatever. But gratitude is a lot deeper than the things you have, and it has nothing to do with the things you don't have, right?
Right.
And so to just be grateful that you're alive, you're breathing, be grateful you got a roof over your head. I mean, there's a lot of people in the world that don't have that. Be grateful for the people that worked hard to build the thing that's over your head, right? Be grateful for the turkey that died that sits on your table, the coffee you drink. I mean, whatever it is, but
I'm
if you,
grateful for this coffee cup. I'm great.
yeah,
Folks, look around you, everything around you.
yeah,
Like you said, you can live in a world of scarcity or you can live in a world of abundance. We choose to live in a world of abundance and gratitude. And if not for this coffee mug, this coffee would be all over my lap. And so, yes, I'm happy.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's so true. Well, and when you are grateful, when you're truly grateful, it means that you're not. ungrateful, right? Like
Yep.
ungrateful and grateful don't coexist. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum. So when you're truly grateful for who you are, who you've been created to be, opportunities that you get, whatever's going on in your life, whatever it is that surrounds you, whatever you have, windows to keep out the cold or keep out the hot, whatever, when you're truly grateful, then all that other stuff that brings the stress, brings the pain, brings the feeling undeserving, all that stuff goes away because that has to do with not being grateful. If you're
Right.
in a job and you look around and you're going, why are they making more money than me? Well, if you didn't know how much they were making, you wouldn't be known, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, sometimes it's not knowing is okay,
That's
but
right.
but
That's
even
right.
and even when you know, be grateful for what you do have. Be grateful for where you are and the things that you just gratitude is a whole condition. It's not
It
just on Thanksgiving, what are you grateful for, or once in a while, what are you grateful for? But it's a way of living. It's so much more
Yeah,
than words,
you are
right?
so right. When you just said when you're grateful, um, and you were talking about that, I realized something that when you live with gratitude, it brings more gratitude. You know, it's one of those things that when you're grateful for things, you find and it is a condition, it is a way of life, right? It's a mindset that you find more things to be grateful for, and then it becomes part of who you are. And I think, going back to what we were talking about, how babies are love, they embody love. And we learn all the other crap, right? We
Right.
learn all the other stuff about envy and just we learn all that stuff. But if you focus on love, it's all about what you focus on. It's what you said. It's not so much the things that happen to you, but how you respond to the things that happen to you. And what struck me about your family is that your family, and I know this just by having experienced them. They live with love. You live with love. You live with gratitude. You live with forgiveness. It's part of who you are. And I felt it in your house. I felt it in your kids who I met. And that's why I'm so grateful, that you've joined me and you've shared the experiences that you've gone through, because not very many people out there have gone through what you guys have gone through. And and you're just amazing people. I mean, you come out of it, out of all that, with such grace, and I wanted folks to know who you were.
Well, I can tell you, John, that there's no greater compliment I think that I've ever gotten than what you just said. That, to feel the love in my house and, all those tall guys walking through the time
Yeah,
during the time we're
there
meeting.
must be something in the water in Michigan.
I guess so. I know, but I come from short stock, and so they're all really tall to me. But yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's so thank you for saying that. That's really sweet. But that's how all of our houses should feel. I mean,
That's
it's
yes,
right. I mean, I'm sure
yeah,
if I walked
and
into your house,
can,
I'd feel the same thing. Right. That's the
yeah,
thing. Yeah, what you just said is so true. They can. They
yeah,
can.
that's
Yeah.
right. And so
And
and this
yeah.
is, folks, this is why I'm doing this podcast, right? Is because we want to share with you. I mean, Kim and I both live, I mean, amazingly blessed lives. And, I mean, I, I, I want everybody to have that opportunity. I want all of you, I'm not bragging. I'm not saying, hey, I got a great life, and you should be like me. No, please don't take it that way, right?
Mm.
It's everybody can use help. Everybody can use help, and sometimes when you learn about others and how others have accomplished what they've accomplished and are living, the I've said this before, and I'll close with this. The life that you're living today is the product of the choices and decisions you've made in the past. They are. Okay. And people say, well, I can't choose my parents. What are you talking about? Okay. So the life that you're going to live is going to be the product of the decisions that you make from now on. Think of Cordy. Okay. She couldn't, every her being born I mean, she was born, right? But the way she grew up and the decisions that she made growing up and the decisions that Kim made and the decisions that Kim's daughter made, they could have made very different decisions. um but I look at them now, and I and it's not just your house, it's your sons and their friend and I mean, just the whole thing was just an amazing experience. And um yeah, life's not fair, we get that, but in this season of Thanksgiving, and you know what, you know Thanksgiving isn't just one day. The opportunity to offer thanks doesn't happen just on the day of Thanksgiving. But I will tell you, for that reason, it's next to Christmas is my favorite holiday. And so, Kim, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story. Um, you have anything? Yeah, you want to close? You have anything else you'd like to add?
Well, so people are going to people's houses, right? Or
Yes,
having people
yes,
over for
yes, yes,
Thanksgiving.
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and sometimes you don't necessarily like everyone who's coming over, right? Or we just had this election, and it could be that
Yes,
sitting at the same dinner table are going to be people that voted one way and people that voted another.
that's right.
And sometimes those conversations come up, or there's a football game on and somebody's rooting for somebody, I don't know, all the stuff that happens, right? All the family dynamics, and you remember all the stuff. And when she called you that when you were 10 years old, and this happened, and that, whatever it all is. And why is that brother making more money than you are? Just all the stuff that comes with ungratitude,
Yes, that's right.
right?
That's
That's all the stuff that is the opposite way to live. That is the opposite way to live.
And it's the
And
opposite of Thanksgiving.
it's the opposite of Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving's nemesis is what it is. It's like, it's like the Joker and Batman. It is the Joker of
That's right.
Thanksgiving, I
That's
guess.
right.
But I think often it can be easy to go, well, what am I going to do? Walk in and act like a different person? Okay. Is
Right.
that bad? Like if you decide now, I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm not going to hang on to this bitterness. I'm just going to diffuse situations. I'm going to walk away if I need to. I'm going to, bite my tongue. I'm not going to change anybody's opinion likely.
Right.
So if
Right.
you make a decision that no, I'm going into this holiday differently. I'm not going to throw mashed potatoes on the wall this year. They're going to stay on my plate. If you decide these things, and then people wonder, who is this person that seems different? Let them wonder. It's okay, because there's only one you, right?
Yeah.
So live the way you want to live, not reacting
Yeah.
to the way other people are living. But be you. Be
And
you. Be the you that you want to be.
be
And
aware of your reactions,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because, if there's one thing I'd love for you guys to do, to try doing when you're going into your Thanksgiving celebration with your family, go in with the spirit of forgiveness and gratitude. Try it. Okay. I mean, this election cycle has just been it's just been crazy. I mean, people on TV are telling us don't have Thanksgiving dinner. Blow off your family. If they voted on the other way, I mean, how it's crazy. It's crazy. And of course, nothing can come of that except maybe regret. Nothing good is going to come of it. So if you go in there with an attitude of whatever it is bothering you, forgive them. Just forgive them in your heart. Just say, I'm letting it go. I'm not carrying this anymore. And really go into the day with a feeling of gratitude. A gratitude that turkey gave up its life so you can enjoy it. Whatever. Whatever. That experience may teach you something.
Yeah, it might be interesting even before you walk through the door to think about things that you are grateful for everybody that you're going to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you probably will look at them differently when you see them. And then what could be really fun, John, I think, is if you go to Thanksgiving and if somebody starts to say something that you don't agree with, that it's going to start a fight, to hit them with gratitude, to say to them, "Man, I'm so grateful we get to vote in this country. Isn't it great we get
And
to
I'm
vote?
so happy you're
You know,
here.
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm
Isn't it
so
great we get
grateful
to
that
be
you're in my
together on
life.
Thanksgiving?" Exactly. Right.
Oh
Right.
my
Hit them
God.
with some
Can you
gratitude.
imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, you talk about short-circuiting somebody. The guy's just gonna go, what?
Right. Right. Right.
That is
You
so
lying to
awesome.
me?
Folks, try it. Try it. Have
Yeah.
fun with it. Just have
Yeah.
fun with it. And just
Mhm.
go in and short circuit people, will you? And bring bring some love into your Thanksgiving celebration, you know? And Kim, that is amazing. You are amazing. Your family's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. So inspirational, unbelievable. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing your story with my audience. So with that, Kim, I love you. God bless you. All of you, I love you. And God bless you. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And remember, this is a timeless message. Share it, please share it. There are people out there that need to hear this, and it's just so amazing. So with that, please subscribe, please share, because you're going to reach somebody, and somebody's going to. Uh, I don't mean to be melodramatic, but you may save somebody with this story. So until next time, thanks again, Kim. Thanks. Bye.